My brother insisted my inheritance was his, citing his children. I refused. Hours later my mom contacted. My whole life I was the invisible one. The second son. Garrett. Not Colin. He's 36, married, 4 kids, 3 successful fitness franchises. He lives this glossy, picture-perfect life, constantly posting his quarterly revenue, like it's a public service. My parents practically put him on a pedestal because he gave them grandkids. Me. I'm 31, a municipal code inspector, crawling through attics, making $54,000 a year to make sure buildings don't fall down. Not glamorous but honest work. I worked graveyard security through my 20s, saving every penny, living in tiny roach-friendly studios just to get certified. When Colin was 28, my parents handed him $70,000 to start his first gym, no questions asked, no interest. A few years later, when I needed $3,000 for my own certification fees, my dad looked at me like I'd asked for a kidney. Learn self-reliance, he said. Funny that lesson never seemed to apply to Colin. My grandfather, Ben Cross, was mostly a stranger. He lived a few hours away, sent birthday cards with a crisp 20, showed up to a holiday or two, always quiet, always reading. I assumed he didn't really care about any of us. I was wrong. The call came on a Tuesday in March. I was sitting in my truck, finishing a sandwich between inspections when an unknown number flashed on my phone. Mr. Cross, this is Robert Kellerman from Kellerman and Associates. I'm calling regarding the estate of Benjamin Cross. My sandwich froze halfway to my mouth. Sorry, what? He said my grandfather had passed away last Thursday. And then he dropped the bombshell. You're named as the primary beneficiary. Traffic kept moving, the radio played some forgettable song, but my world just narrowed. Primary beneficiary? Me? Not Colin? Not shared? Primary beneficiary of what? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The property at 422 Birch Lane is being transferred to you, pending probate. You also inherit his investment portfolio. Your brother Colin receives the recreational vehicle. The will contains a strict no-contest clause. I just stared at the steering wheel, my hands shaking a little. $400,000. Plus a house. Left to me by a man I barely knew. How much in investments? $267,412 and change. Why me? There was a letter, he said. It should arrive tomorrow. But then his voice lowered. Your mother already contacted my office. She's upset. Of course she is, I muttered. Then a warning. Mr. Cross, document everything from here on. Dates, times, messages. Inheritance disputes can escalate quickly. That should have been my first clue. My phone rang the moment I hung up. Mom. I didn't answer. Moments later it rang again. My mom's voice, tight, controlled, that sound she makes right before she explodes. So, the lawyer called you too. She didn't offer condolences. Not even a hint of grief. This is unbelievable, Garrett. Colin has a family to support. You're single, living in a 1-bedroom apartment. This distribution makes absolutely no sense. There it was. Not even 10 minutes after learning her own father had died, and she was already furious about money. I didn't ask for any of this, I said. But you're getting it anyway, she snapped. And you should think about what's right. Your brother has responsibilities. You have nobody depending on you. That word, nobody, hit harder than I expected. I'll talk to the lawyer, I said, my voice eerily even. You think long and hard about the kind of man you want to be. Click. Dial tone. 10 minutes later, Colin texted. No condolences. No emotion. Just pure entitlement. We need to talk. This is F*******, get up and you know it. Call me ASAP. I stared at it. All those years living in his shadow. And now this. I typed. He made his choice. I'm respecting it. Then I blocked his number. And I forwarded the entire exchange to Robert, the lawyer, with a note. All family contact goes through you now. The calls came in a barrage. Mom. Dad. My sister-in-law Ashley's phone. Aunt Patricia. 5 calls in 10 minutes. I powered off my phone. That evening, I drove straight to Jess's apartment. We'd been dating 8 months. She opened the door, took one look at my face and without a word, pulled me inside. What happened? She asked. My grandfather died, I said. Left me a house and 400 grand. My family is losing their minds. She just nodded. Good for him. Come in. That's Jess. No sugarcoating. Just truth. As I told her everything, she stirred pasta sauce, her brow furrowed but her gaze steady. So, she said finally, my mom texted me. My mom had called her. Asked Jess to talk some sense into me about being generous with family. You're joking, I said. No, Jess said. I told her you don't need sense. You need distance. And not to involve me in her emotional hostage negotiations ever again. Despite everything, I laughed. They're going to make this hell. Probably, she said, setting a bowl in front of me. But you're not who they think you are anymore. You don't owe them the version of yourself they're used to. She looked at me, really looked at me. What do you want to do, Garrett? Forget them. Forget expectations. What do you want? I didn't even hesitate. Keep it, I said. All of it. He chose me. Jess lifted her glass. Then here's to Grandpa Ben, a man with excellent judgment. I clinked mine against hers. For the first time that day, something inside me unclenched. The courier arrived Wednesday morning. A big, padded envelope, signature required. Inside, an inch of legal documents, and at the bottom, a single sheet of yellow legal paper, my name written in shaky cursive. I sat at my kitchen table and unfolded it. It started, Garrett, I've watched from a distance for years. How they forget you unless they need something. How Colin is handed everything while you get lectures. How you show up to family events and no one truly sees you. You think I didn't notice? I noticed everything. Your parents chose which son to invest in. I'm making my choice now. You remind me of myself at 30. The one no one bet on. The one who had to build a life while others had theirs handed to them. Make something good with this. Don't let them take it. Don't let them guilt you. They will try. Stand your ground. Ben. I read it twice, my throat tight. I'd spent years thinking this man barely knew me. Turns out he saw me more clearly than my own parents ever had. Every ignored accomplishment. Every time I sat invisible at the far end of a dinner table while Colin was showered with praise. Grandpa had been there. In the corner. Quiet. Watching. Remembering. Jess came over during her lunch break. I handed her the note. He saw it, she whispered. All of it. The house was fully paid for, the investment portfolio steady. Colin got an RV, maybe $48,000 on a good day. He would see that as an insult, not a gift. Friday evening my cousin Tyler called. He rarely involved himself in family drama. They're planning something, he said. Family meeting. Sunday 2 p.m. They can meet without me, I told him. They're already saying if you don't show up, you're being unreasonable. They're building a narrative, man. I knew that game. Silence would become guilt. Absence, confession. I'll go, I said. But I'm not going alone. Good. Bring Jess. They act different when there's a witness. Jess agreed instantly. We go together or not at all. Sunday at 2 we pulled up to my parents' house. 5 cars already crowded the driveway. Colin's Escalade. Ashley's minivan. Aunt Patricia's sedan. Uncle Mark's truck. Tyler's Civic. A full audience. Ground rules, Jess said before we walked in. You say your piece once. No defending. No debating. No spiraling. If they pile on, we leave. And if they block the exit? She didn't even blink. Then I call the cops and say we're being held. But they won't. Bullies only get physical when they think you're alone. I believed her. Mom opened the door before I knocked. Church dress, tight smile, cold eyes. Garrett. Jessica. Jess nodded politely. Mrs. Cross. The living room looked staged. Everyone arranged in a semicircle around an empty love seat, waiting for us. The coffee table had neatly stacked printed pages. A pen placed dead center like a signature was a foregone conclusion. Mom slid the papers toward me. This is a redistribution plan, she said. A fair arrangement. I picked up the top page. Jess read along. Cross family estate redistribution proposal. Investment split 60/40 to Colin. House transferred to Colin for family housing stability. RV to me as compensation. A notary block waited at the bottom like a trap. Jess let out a short, humorless laugh. You're kidding. This is about doing what's right. Mom glared at her. Colin has children, responsibilities. Garrett has worth, Jess shot back. Which you seem to forget. The old man wasn't thinking clearly, Colin said, arms crossed. $250,000 to someone with no dependents? Be serious. That word again. Dependents. As if having kids entitled him to everything. Grandpa was evaluated by 2 doctors when he updated his will, I said. He was competent. We're not talking about lawyers, Dad said. We're talking about family. Family? I repeated. Like when Colin got $70,000 and I got a lecture for asking for 3? Mom flinched, then recovered. That was different. How? I asked. Ashley chimed in, tears at the ready. My kids are confused. They don't understand why their uncle wants to hurt them. I'm not hurting anyone, I said. I'm just keeping what was given to me. That's selfish, she cried. I stood. Jess rose with me instantly. I'm not signing this. The will is valid. This conversation is over. Sit down. Dad snapped. Command voice. The one I obeyed as a kid. No. If you leave, Mom said, her voice shaking with anger, don't expect to be welcomed back. I met her eyes, saw the message behind them. Choose them or lose them. I'm just accepting what you already decided, I said. A long time ago. You're breaking this family apart. Colin said, standing, his face contorted. Then maybe, I said evenly, you should have planned your finances better. The room froze. I turned and walked out. Jess followed without looking back. At the car, my hands shook from adrenaline. Jess touched my shoulder. You did exactly what you needed to do. Half an hour later, Tyler texted. That took guts. Proud of you. Also, they're talking lawyers. I forwarded everything to Robert, including photos of their so-called redistribution plan. His reply came fast. Send me all documents. Do not respond to them directly. I'm filing a preemptive cease and desist in the morning. For the first time since this began, I felt the ground shift just a little toward me. The first sign of real escalation came Tuesday morning. An automated email from the Postal Service confirming an address change request for 422 Birch Lane, forwarded to Colin's house. I called Robert immediately. He's trying to intercept your mail, Robert said. File a fraud report with the postal inspector. I'll issue a cease and desist. I drove to Riverside that afternoon, 2 hours through quiet hills and into a neighborhood of older ranch homes. Grandpa's house looked the same as the photos. Tan siding, white trim, a huge oak out front. But the mailbox now had a brand new padlock. My stomach sank. I walked the perimeter. Fresh scratches around the back door lock. Someone had tried to get in. A screen door opened next door. A woman in her 60s eyed me cautiously. Help you. I'm Garrett Cross. I inherited this house from Ben. Her posture softened. Oh, Ben's grandson. I'm Helen. Did anyone come by lately? She hesitated. A man showed up Saturday, said he was Ben's son and needed paperwork. I told him I'd call you first. He got irritated and left. She glanced down the street as if expecting him to return. That was my brother, I said. He has no access. If he shows up again, call the police. Helen nodded. Ben mentioned you, Said you had a good head on your shoulders. Anything else? She lowered her voice. Your parents gave your brother a key years ago for emergencies. Ben hated it but didn't have the strength to fight. Of course. Colin had believed he owned this place long before it was mine. I called a locksmith. Then I went straight to the Riverside police station and filed a mail fraud report. The officer asked if I wanted to issue a trespass warning. Yes, I said. Absolutely. By late afternoon, every lock on the property had been replaced. I scheduled a full camera installation for Friday. Thursday morning, my supervisor, Rick, called. Garrett, someone phoned the office asking about your job performance. Said you might be unstable. My chest tightened. Who? No name. Sounded personal. Family inheritance dispute. They're trying to discredit me, I said. Rick sighed. Just keep me looped in. I've got your back. I called Robert. He added it to the growing file of harassment. Friday. Cameras went in. 6 total, motion alerts, cloud storage. While the installers worked, another call. Frank Delaney, a stranger's voice, introduced himself. I live 3 doors down. Helen said you might need help. He explained he was a retired cop who'd kept an eye on Grandpa's place. I saw your brother snooping around last weekend, Frank said. Took photos, plates. Figured you'd want them. I did. Badly. Frank also offered to connect me with the HOA manager, Rita, who later told me she couldn't patrol, but would document anything neighbors reported. By the time I drove home that night, the early signs of a siege were undeniable. At 2 a.m. Saturday, my phone buzzed. Motion alert. Jess stirred beside me. What is it? I opened the camera feed. Colin stood on the front porch with another man carrying a tool bag. They're trying to break in, I whispered. Jess sat up instantly. Call the cops. I already was. I watched the feed while giving the dispatcher my information. Colin tried the front door, then the back. The motion light flared on, catching his face clearly. He stared directly at the camera, then bolted. 14 minutes later, police arrived at an empty house. I forwarded the footage. The responding officer studied the clip and said something that chilled me. Mr. Cross, with the mail fraud attempt, the trespass notice, and this attempted entry, this is no longer a civil issue. It's a pattern. We're forwarding this to investigations. Pattern. The word hit like a hammer. 2 days later, Colin called from an unknown number. You've lost your mind? He snarled into my voicemail. Calling cops on your own brother? Everyone's going to see how crazy you are. This won't end well for you. I archived it. My phone buzzed again immediately. New number. Uncle Garrett. It's Maddie. Dad said you stole our house. Mom's crying. Did you really? Colin's 12-year-old daughter. My chest tightened. They were using the kids now. I screenshotted it, saved it, didn't respond. More followed over the next 2 days. Different numbers, different kids, same script. I stored every message, but each one felt like a punch. They had no idea they were being weaponized. The week blurred, one violation bleeding into the next. Wednesday, Robert called. We have a problem. Colin filed a quitclaim deed with the county. He attempted to transfer the property to himself. Forged your signature. Heat surged up my spine. He what? The recorder spotted a fake notary stamp. They turned it over to investigators. This is felony fraud. I'll file supporting reports today. An hour later, Investigator Mendez from the county recorder's fraud unit called. Mr. Cross, we've opened a formal case. Did you sign that deed? No. Good. That makes this straightforward. He asked for everything. Signature samples, footage, trespass reports, texts, voicemails. To be blunt, he said, this kind of forgery usually comes from relatives who assume consequences won't apply. But they will. My throat tightened. We'll be interviewing your brother shortly. If he lies, we'll document that too. Thursday afternoon, Frank called again. A county investigator stopped by, he said. Wanted to confirm I'd seen your brother trespassing. I gave him the photos, dates, everything. Before hanging up, he paused. Garrett, I know how this goes. People don't forge documents unless they feel entitled, and they don't stop when they're caught. A cold, slow dread went through me. Be careful, Frank said quietly. Your brother's cornered. Cornered people do stupid, dangerous things. The social media campaign started Monday. Just showed me the post. Vague prayers, mental health insinuations. All of it. The next day, a woman from church cornered me outside the grocery store. Garrett, honey, she said, touching my arm. We're all praying you do the right thing. Your parents are such good people. They're hurting so much. I pulled my arm back gently. Thanks for your concern. It's just money, she said. Family is forever. I didn't engage, just left. But it stayed with me. The whispers, the judgment, the assumption. Tuesday, Tyler called with an update. He sounded nervous, like he was calling from somewhere private. My mom's on my ass about talking to you, he said. But you should know Colin's business is in trouble. SBA loan default. He missed 3 payments. The bank sent a notice about foreclosure proceedings on the gym equipment. That's probably why he's going nuclear on you. How bad? I asked. Bad enough that he's been hitting up everyone in the family for loans. My mom gave him $5,000 last month. He hasn't paid it back. That night Jess came over. She looked tired. My family's been calling, she said. Your mom reached out to my aunt, asked her to talk to me about helping Garrett see reason. I'm sorry, I said. It's not your fault, but I'm not going to lie, Garrett. This is hard. Having my family question my judgment, having your family treat me like I'm some kind of home wrecker. She sat down heavily. I didn't sign up for a war. You can walk away, I said. I wouldn't blame you. I'm not walking away, she said. But I need you to understand what this is costing. Not just you. Friday, I got called into Rick's office. He looked uncomfortable. Someone sent an email to HR anonymously. Said you've been making concerning statements at work about family members. Implied you might be unstable. That's bullshit, I said. I know, he said. But HR has to follow protocol. They want to meet with you Monday. Bring any documentation you have. Robert drafted a letter for HR explaining the situation. Monday I sat in HR with Rick present. The HR director, a woman named Sandra, read Robert's letter carefully. This is a coordinated harassment campaign, she said. Against you? Yes, I said. I'm closing this inquiry. If anyone contacts us again, we'll refer them to our legal department and file harassment charges. Sandra leaned back, hands steepled. And Mr. Cross, your family member impersonated a concerned coworker in that email. That's fraud. If they contact this office again under false pretenses, we will involve law enforcement. Rick shot me a look, part sympathy, part holy shit. I nodded. Understood. That evening Tyler messaged. Heads up. Pastor Williams asked my mom to stop weaponizing prayer requests. My eyebrows went up. He said it in front of 3 other people, Tyler added. She's mortified. I hadn't realized how much I needed that small, sharp piece of justice until it landed. The next morning, Jess showed me another post from my mom. A mother's heart breaks when one child turns from the family. Please pray for clarity and healing. The tone was syrupy, but the comments were not what she expected. Is this about the inheritance thing? I heard Garrett was named in the will fairly. You can't guilt someone into giving away what was legally theirs. Why post this publicly? Deal with family matters privately. Someone even wrote, maybe stop pressuring him. That's not Christ-like. Jess looked at me. She's losing control of the narrative. For the first time since this started, I felt a flicker of peace. They tried to paint me as unstable. Instead, people were questioning them. Just before bed, Tyler called again. Dude, my mom and Colin got into it tonight. Like, screaming. He said something about if Garrett had any decency, he'd fix this. And my mom snapped back that if Colin hadn't screwed up his entire business, none of this would be happening. He lowered his voice. Garrett, the whole family is cracking. They're turning on each other. I didn't celebrate it. But I didn't feel guilty either. They'd spent months trying to break me. Now they were breaking each other. Robert called late that night. I saw the updated HR report. That helps us. It establishes a pattern of reputational attacks and impersonation attempts. Pattern? I repeated. Same word the officer had used. Yes. And once the forged deed investigation finishes, that pattern will matter. What does that mean? It means, Robert said, his voice steady and almost cold, your brother and your parents are creating a legal noose around their own necks. All you have to do is keep documenting. For the first time he sounded confident, not just professional. They think they're fighting you, he said. But really they're fighting evidence. I started renovation later that spring. Took 3 weeks off work, used my saved vacation time, drove up to Riverside, moved into the house, even though it was half furnished and smelled like old carpet. Being there felt strange, walking through rooms Grandpa had lived in, touching things he'd touched, trying to connect with a man I'd barely known, but who'd somehow known me completely. Jess came up on weekends. The first Saturday we ripped out kitchen cabinets together. This is therapeutic, she said, prying off cabinet doors. Destroying something that's yours. Helen came over with sandwiches around noon, sat on the back porch with us. Told us stories about Grandpa. He used to feed the birds every morning, 6:30 a.m. like clockwork. He'd sit out here with his coffee and a book. Very peaceful man. I barely knew him, I admitted. He knew you, she said. Showed me a photo of you once. You were maybe 25, wearing a work uniform. He said you reminded him of his younger self. Said you were steady. That word stuck with me. Steady. The renovation was slow, physical, satisfying. Tore up carpet. Revealed hardwood underneath that had probably been hidden since the 70s. Stripped wallpaper, mud walls, painted. Chose colors Grandpa might have liked. Cream instead of white, sage green instead of beige. YouTube was my teacher. Trial and error my method. I made mistakes. Painted myself into a corner twice, literally. Cut a piece of trim 6 inches too short. Broke 2 tiles trying to figure out the spacer system. But each mistake taught me something. And fixing them made the final result feel earned. The kitchen took 3 weekends. Ripped out those particle board cabinets from the 80s, installed simple shaker-style ones I assembled myself. New countertops, basic laminate but clean. Replaced the ancient faucet that dripped constantly. The whole room transformed from dated brown to bright and functional. But some nights, alone in that house, I'd sit in Grandpa's study and just feel the weight of it. The grief of losing someone I never really had. The regret of not trying harder to know him. The strange sensation of being seen by someone I'd thought was barely looking. One night, I was working in the study pulling books off a built-in shelf. Something fell from behind the books. A photo. Me at maybe 8 years old. 3rd grade school picture. On the back, in Grandpa's handwriting, stood up for the smaller kid. Got in trouble for it. That's character. I'd forgotten that completely. The fight in 3rd grade. The kid Colin's age picking on some 2nd grader. I'd shoved him, got detention, got grounded for a month. Grandpa remembered. Kept the photo for 23 years. Just found me sitting there, holding it. What is it? I showed her. She looked at it, then sat next to me on the floor. He saw the real you, she said quietly. Yeah, I said. He did. And I never even knew he was looking. My voice cracked on that last part. Just broke. And then I was crying. Really crying. For the first time since this whole thing started. Not about the inheritance or the family war. About losing someone who'd seen me when I thought I was invisible. Jess just held me. Didn't say anything. Just let me grieve. Work continued. I hired a contractor for the major stuff, plumbing and electrical, but did everything else myself. Installed new flooring, rebuilt the back porch, replaced light fixtures. Early one morning, as I was hauling debris to the driveway, my phone buzzed with an unknown Riverside number. Mr. Cross, this is Investigator Mendez. Quick update. We're close to finishing our review of the deed. I may need you to come in soon to identify signatures formally. His tone was clipped. All business. Is that bad? I asked. For the person who filed it, he said. Yes. He paused. And Mr. Cross. Keep documenting. Patterns matter. Then he hung up. I stood there in the driveway holding a trash bag, listening to the hum of cicadas. The world was ordinary quiet. But somewhere behind that quiet, something heavy was starting to tilt. One Friday evening I was painting the living room when someone knocked. I looked through the window. Colin. Alone. No truck. Must have parked down the street. Smart. Didn't want neighbors calling in his plates again. I didn't open the door. Just pulled out my phone, started recording through the window. He was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, hands in his pockets, trying to look casual, but his shoulders were tense, jaw tight. He knocked again. Garrett, I know you're in there. We need to talk. I opened the door but stood in the frame. Didn't let him in. Phone recording in my pocket. The evening air was warm, crickets starting up in the woods behind the house. You're trespassing, I said. There's a formal warning on file. I'm your brother, he said, voice strained, like he was working hard to stay calm. Can we please just talk like adults? About what? About this. He gestured at the house, the yard, everything. About the insanity of what's happening. You're really going to destroy our family over a pile of wood and nails. I'm not destroying anything, I said. I'm living in the house my grandfather gave me. I have 4 kids, Garrett. There was again. The same argument he'd been making for months. You have nobody. You keep saying that like it matters, I said. My voice stayed level, calm. Like having kids makes you more deserving of someone else's property? His jaw clenched, face getting redder. It should matter. You're punishing innocent children for something that had nothing to do with them. No, I said. I'm just not responsible for your financial decisions, your business loans, your expansion plans, your lifestyle. None of that's on me. You're going to regret this, he said. Not quite a threat, more like a prediction. Like he was warning me about something inevitable. Maybe, I said. But it'll be my regret. Not yours. Now get off my property before I call the police. He stared at me for 5 seconds, then turned and walked to the street, hands still in his pockets, shoulders tight. I called Riverside PD anyway, reported the violation. They said they'd follow up. That night, alone in the house, I sat on the newly finished back porch, beer in hand, looking at the woods behind the property. The air was cool, stars starting to show. I could hear the highway in the distance, cars heading somewhere else. My phone buzzed. Transfer app notification. Account balance showing. Probate had cleared. The money was finally legally mine. No more pending. No more waiting. No more maybe. Just there. Real. Undeniable. $267,000. One button press. I could split it. Make peace. Make them stop. End this war that had cost me a year of sleep and most of my family relationships. My finger hovered over the transfer screen. All I had to do was type in Colin's account info, hit confirm, watch the numbers move. Then I locked the phone, set it down on the porch rail, took a drink of my beer and watched the trees sway in the breeze. Because peace with them meant erasing myself. Meant admitting that being the overlooked one was my permanent job. Meant agreeing that my life counted less than Colin's. And Grandpa hadn't given me this so I could disappear again. By late summer, I officially registered the property as a retreat center. Filed the paperwork downtown, got the proper LLC designation, business insurance, occupancy permits. Did it right because I'm a code inspector and I know how things should be done. Made sure every exit sign was regulation. Every smoke detector was up to code, every permit current. The Benjamin House Retreat Center. Small operation, nonprofit status, designed for creative professionals who needed space to work without distraction. Maximum 8 participants per session to keep it intimate and focused. Jess helped design a simple website, photos of the house, the workspace, the grounds. One page explaining the mission, providing sanctuary for those whose work was overlooked. Another page with pricing. Reasonable rates that covered costs but didn't turn anyone away. A third page showing the space, the renovated rooms, the natural light, the quiet. I didn't announce it to the family. Didn't send invites. Just made it exist and let it speak for itself. Tyler texted me, saw your website. That's brilliant, man. In early fall, Jess had an idea. What if you made a short video? She asked. Not for revenge, for closure. Document the transformation, the story, the reason behind it. We filmed over 2 weekends. The videographer, a woman named Rachel, captured the renovation process, the before and afters. Helen told stories on camera. Frank gave a brief interview about what he'd witnessed. Tyler talked about the family dynamics he'd observed growing up. I narrated parts of it, talked about what it meant to be overlooked, to inherit not just property but validation. The final video was titled, The House He Gave Me. We uploaded it to YouTube mid-October. Didn't promote it. Just put it out there. Within a week, 15,000 views. Comments from strangers sharing their own family stories. By Thanksgiving, 50,000 views. Then 100,000. One comment kept getting liked over and over. Sometimes the quietest person in the family is the one paying attention. It hit me harder than it should have. Another, your grandfather knew exactly what he was doing. For the first time, strangers understood me better than my own family ever had. Right around this time, Robert emailed me one line. County forensic examiners completed the deed analysis. We'll talk Monday. Short. Clinical. But it thrummed under my skin like distant thunder. Something was coming. The message from Tyler came late one night. Your mom saw the video. She's furious. Says you're embarrassing the family publicly. I read it twice, felt nothing, just a kind of quiet acceptance. They had spent months attacking my character in whispers and prayer circles. Now the truth was simply visible. And visibility felt like justice. They tried again before Thanksgiving. Colin and Ashley. This time I didn't open the door. I called the police. They got cited and finally stopped trying to show up in person. Helen told me later the neighbors were talking. They saw the video. She said they think it's beautiful and they think your family is, well, they think they should be ashamed. She didn't say it cruelly, just truthfully. That's when I realized the power of telling your own story. When you stop letting other people speak for you, their voices suddenly don't matter as much. Christmas I spent at Helen's house. She invited me and Jess, made turkey and all the sides. Her adult kids were there, their families. Frank came over with his wife. Rita stopped by with dessert. This is what family should feel like, Jess said later. Yeah, I agreed. January rolled around. The 1-year anniversary of Grandpa's death approached. I'd been in the house 9 months now. Felt like mine. February 3rd, around 7 p.m. There was a knock at the door. Aggressive. Persistent. I checked the camera. Colin, my dad, and my uncle Mark. All 3 of them. I called the police first. Active trespass violation. 3 people. Previous citations on file. Then I went to the door but didn't open it. Spoke through it. You're trespassing. Police are on the way. Open this door. Dad said, a voice I hadn't heard in 10 months. Still had that authority tone. No, I said. We are your family. You owe us a conversation. I don't owe you anything. They left before the cops arrived. I showed the footage anyway. The responding officer reviewed the video twice. Mr. Cross, they were explicitly warned. This escalates it to misdemeanor trespass. Charges will be filed. His tone was sympathetic in a way officers rarely are. I nodded, a small, exhausted relief settling in. March 15th. I was doing yard work when Helen came over holding a piece of paper. This was in my mailbox, she said. Addressed to you. It was a handwritten letter from Mom. No envelope, just folded paper. Garrett, your father is having health issues. This is your last chance to be part of this family. Mom. I read it twice. Handed it to Helen. What do you think? I asked. I think it's manipulation, she said. Classic guilt tactic. I dropped the letter into the folder on my laptop. Didn't respond. Didn't engage. April, I got a message from Tyler. Heads up. They're planning something. Vanessa mentioned a lawyer consultation. Nothing came. No lawsuit. No new demands. Just silence. The eerie kind. One Monday morning Robert called. Garrett. The DA reviewed the forged deed case. Your brother will be charged with 1 count of filing false instruments and 1 count of attempted fraud. My parents were interviewed as well. My parents? I asked. They attempted to corroborate Colin's story, Robert said. But the signatures, timestamps, and surveillance footage contradicted everything. The DA decided not to pursue charges against them, but the report does not look favorable. I didn't feel joy, just a deep, steady validation. Finally, someone in authority saw the truth. Well over a year after Grandpa died, the video had climbed into the hundreds of thousands. A couple of local blogs reached out. I said no. I was sitting on the back porch with Jess, sunset coming through the trees when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello, Garrett. It's Colin. I stayed quiet. Let him talk. I need help, he said, his voice different. Defeated. Ashley left me. She took the kids. The business is gone. Bankruptcy. I've got nothing. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. And I know I messed up. Everything with the house, the inheritance, the way I acted. I took it out on you. The forged deed. The cops. Using the kids. I know it was wrong. I couldn't see past my own panic. Yeah, I said. You did. Is there any way? I'm not asking for money. I just needed to say I'm sorry. I looked at Jess. She didn't tell me what to say. She just waited with me. Okay, I said. That's it. Just, okay. What do you want me to say? That we're brothers again? I mean, yeah. You tried to steal from me. You tried to ruin my job. You tried to turn the kids against me. Colin, this is who you became. Silence. I accept your apology. I believe you're sorry. But we're not family anymore. That changed the day you chose violence over honesty. So that's it? You're just going to let me lose everything? I'm not letting you do anything, I said. You did this. Not me. He hung up. Jess reached over, took my hand. How do you feel? Tired, I said. Just tired. September, I started hosting small creative retreats at the house. Writing workshops, art intensives, music composition sessions. 8 people each weekend. All of them carrying the same story in different shapes. Being overlooked, being too quiet, being told their work didn't matter. But here it did. Participants paid modestly. Meals were simple. Evenings were communal. And everywhere in the house, people breathed a little easier, like they finally had permission. That's what the house became. Permission. Validation. Helen helped coordinate. Tyler came up one weekend, brought his camera, documented everything. By November, I had bookings through the next summer. The DA emailed Robert a short update. Colin entered a plea agreement. Fines, community service, and mandatory financial counseling. No further contact with you for 2 years. Robert forwarded it to me with a single line, "It's over." And for the first time it felt true. Almost 2 years after that first call from the attorney, I stood on the back porch at sunset, beer in hand, looking at the woods. The same view Grandpa had seen every morning with his coffee and birds. "Thanks for choosing me," I said out loud. The wind moved through the oak tree. For a second it almost felt like an answer. Behind me, Jess stepped outside, wrapped her arms around my waist. "You good?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. And for the first time I actually was. This whole journey taught me so much about family, boundaries, and what it truly means to be seen. I'm curious, what's one moment in your life where you truly felt seen, or had to stand up for yourself against impossible odds? Share your thoughts in the comments below, I'd love to hear them.